Um, Hi, my name is Maria Di Gianmarco. I'm a creative and editor at the Camp Gallery, the Contemporary Modern Project. And I'm really excited because today I'm going to be talking to Regina Jestrow. She's a local artist and a quilt maker. She's a member of Fiber Artists Miami Association and a recent Ellie winner per Ule Arts here in Miami. And she's participated in our current exhibition in Miami, which is 64 Women Pulling at the Threads of Social Discourse. It's the third annual edition of this collaboration between the camp and Fiber Artists Miami Association. And she wants to be in this live video. I wonder why. So let's see if Regina's here. If you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the comments. Hi,
Hi.
how are you?
Good, good. The dogs are right up next to me, so I fed them, but they're still kind of like needing something. So sorry.
It's okay if it makes you feel better. My dog is also spectating.
Oh yeah, here he comes.
So,
He's on my lap now. So.
what kind of dog do you
No.
have?
Ow! Sorry.
It's okay.
A little two mutts. One's like pretty ratty terrier, and one
Love it.
that's also a rat terrier, and he's pulling on my wire.
How long have you had them?
This guy's 7, and the other one's 2. So, yes, yes.
Wow.
Thank you. Yeah. Sorry.
I have a dog with a very big personality as well, so
Yeah.
it's fine by me. Don't worry about it.
Okay. Cool.
So I'm glad that you have some of your pieces behind you because I don't have like another device with which
Yeah,
to
I'm gonna
show.
take them outside. So. Oh, you have another dice, or?
No, I
Okay.
don't. So
Okay.
I've had them in other interviews where I get to show your piece, but this time I don't.
Okay.
So having a visual reference point is excellent, not just for me or for you, but for people watching.
Yeah, I don't really. I've never done that before. I'm not sure how to do that. So.
It's okay, don't worry.
Sorry.
So
But
I
I have,
wanted to.
quilts in my studio, and I'm here, so you could.
Mm.
I have stuff that's here that are kind of related to the stuff that's in the show. So.
Yeah, so the pieces that are in 64 Women Pulling at the Threads of Social Discourse, they're part of a larger series, correct?
Correct. Yeah. The part of the Americana Quilts series, and let me reverse my camera. I know how to do that. So these two are part of that series as well. So they're based off of my research during the pandemic of activism and race history and quilt history and how they're related. How women are under-recognized in the arts. So that they're like traditional quilt patterns, but in colors that represent both flesh tones of American people
Mm.
and landscape. And the newer pieces have fabric that's been dyed with rust. So those
How
are
does
also.
that work? How do you dye with rust?
Oh, it's so much fun and messy. It's you pretty much make a rust like bath with
Hmm.
um, with like rusty bits, and with you can use steel wool, and you let it soak in like half water, half vinegar solution, or all vinegar solution. So that's like a rusty bit there. Um,
Cool.
and I'll take you around to see big piece. And you just let it sit for like 24 hours. It's a really slow process. You can't really rush it. So if
Yeah.
after 24 hours you kind of
Do
get
you dye a lot of the wool?
it's all cotton, and lately I've been doing a lot of dyeing. This is a newer piece. So the blue, or like kind of indigo, is rust mixed with tea, with jasmine tea, because that's what I have. But the tea really
Oh.
changes. Different organic materials change the color of the rust. And then these are just like shibori folded and sit in the rust, and they sit for like an hour, 24 hours, excuse me.
Cool.
Um, yeah, so it's a really slow. So part of the hangers piece
Hmm.
that is in the show, some of the fabric is this rusty kind of a fabric. So there's another little
Sick.
piece here. trying not to go too
And were
fast.
you doing that pre-pandemic, or did that technique come about while
I
you
ex-
were experiencing the pandemic?
during the well before the pandemic I was experimenting with dyeing yarn. I was doing a lot more crocheting
Hmm.
and more work with yarn, and so I had some dye set up and tools and had some a little bit of knowledge. But then during the pandemic, I was home so much that it just made, and I wanted to add texture to these pieces. So the rust and the shibori folding, and that really added a lot of texture that I wanted to be a part of these pieces. So
Mm. Well, there's stunning. I would have never guessed that you had soaked it in like rusty bits.
yeah,
Never.
yeah. And then the name of the
Cool.
thread
So
color
you
is
are
rust too. So it was kind of funny. So.
so you are a formal textile artist. Like you tend to work with textiles predominantly.
Yeah, I work with textiles predominantly. I didn't go to school for fibers. I learned how to sew from my mom when I was a little kid. And then when I moved to Miami in my 20s, I bought myself a sewing machine and I taught myself how to really quilt and make quilts. And I made quilts for my bed. I made quilts for new babies. I made kind of table runners. I made lots of kind of crafty things. And that's how I kind of taught myself how to sew and taught myself how to make these quilts.
What drew you to quilting in particular, especially because that was the I guess the premise or the theme, the topic that everyone was given for this year's exhibition. But you were
Yeah.
doing it prior, obviously.
Yeah, I've been quilting, I guess, since my 20s, since so I
Mhm.
guess about 20 years. Um, and I just loved the geometric patterns, the movement, the opportunity for storytelling,
Yeah.
the textures. You could do two-dimensional things, you could do three-dimensional things, you could make sculpture, I've made like little plant objects, I made installations that go in gardens. It's just with quilting and with fiber arts, there's lots of opportunity to make different types of things, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. It's so much more malleable than people like think it is, which is it's kind of paradoxical because it's textile, like it's fabric. We wear it, we
Yeah.
sleep with it, like so of
Well, that's what
course it's
makes it
malleable.
more, yeah, it's more accessible that way too. So it's easier for the viewer, for the studio visit, to the visitor in the galleries to access the work and to relate to the work a lot easier because they're used to seeing quilts and they're used to seeing fiber and textiles. And even if they're not used to seeing them on hanging walls, they're used to seeing them on people's bodies, you know?
Oh
So
yeah.
I think fiber art is just, it's an amazing way to reach an audience that doesn't normally relate to like fine art, you know?
Oh, absolutely. I've even experienced in the gallery, like physically in the gallery in like with the show. It's like taboo for a reason, obviously, but it's like a taboo to touch things in a gallery or a museum. And
Yeah.
people have come in and like without thinking, like they're very quick to be like, "Oh my God, I touched it. I'm so sorry." But they're so quick to like, "Oh my God, look at that," and they'll touch it.
Yeah,
And that it speaks to the nature of textiles
yeah,
that
yeah,
somebody feels comfortable enough to like reach out and play with what they're looking at rather than, with I don't know, traditional materials, let's say, things that we tend to see in those fine art spaces.
yeah, yeah. No, I think it's no, I think that's why I like fiber arts, and I keep going. I was sewing, and then I was painting, and I would go back to sewing, and then I was trying to make sculptures from wood, and I go back to sewing. You know, so it's one of these things that has always drawn me back because they're fun to make. It's great to see the audience respond to them either by touching them or by wanting to touch
Yeah.
them. Yeah, yeah.
Do you find yourself, or have you ever found yourself wanting to make works that people can touch, like that kind of interactive
Oh yeah, I mean
work?
I think that's why I appreciate kind of the craft world, the contemporary craft world,
Hmm.
because people in the craft world, you're allowed to play with things, you're allowed to touch things, you know, you're allowed to use them, you know. So I made these really crazy pillows. I still make handbags that are from like secondhand material out of like scrap things when I want to make a project that I don't want to take too seriously And that is, I want to be glitter fun, or, I make fun handbags and I give them away to people, to my friends. All my friends have a handbag.
The perks of having a friend who's a textile
Yeah, yeah.
artist.
I like the balance between the fine arts where things are on the walls and then the tactile contemporary craft items, that you could play with and allow people to play with. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's so beautiful that you mentioned this because I was planning on asking you like how you walk that like delicate line between as a textile artist
Yeah.
between, hobby, because people will look at a quilt piece, they'll come into our gallery, let's say, and be like, wow, fine art, textiles. I thought this was like for bored women
Yeah.
or something. And
No, my
so how
day
do
job
you,
is for bored people.
what is it?
I do admin, but it's fine.
Ah,
It's pays the bill. I have great health insurance, so the textiles is where I have fun and where my passions are. So and
right.
I like to embrace. I embrace the craft world.
Mm,
I mean, I don't. Yeah, I mean, there's so much inspiration. So many. The craft world has more. Um, Lectures and how to, and they embrace the history of craft a little bit differently.
mm-hmm.
The art world has great articles and a different history about different things, but they're in the textiles and fiber arts. There's so much overlap,
Oh
So
yeah.
and
Um,
in ceramics as well. There's tons of overlap. So.
yeah. Do you find yourself having to maybe even just like as you work, like do you find yourself conscious or wanting to prove or defend textile as fine art? I don't know if that made sense.
No, that makes sense. I'm trying to think of the situation because um, it depends on the audience, I guess. Because in the
Hmm.
gallery, if it's on a wall, people kind of expect it to be fine art, and my friends and the galleries I go to, and that social network, everybody respects textiles and fiber art as contemporary art. And then outside of the art circle that I have, other people I know, it's they can't believe it's what I do. They're like, I think it's more like
What?
you sit in a sewing machine and sew all day. I'm like, hell yeah. So.
Well, it is kind of meditative. We think sewing and we're like, ugh, labor. And obviously
Yeah.
there is an element of labor.
Yeah,
But
it's
they
part of the being fiber arts. It's about labor and it's about materials. Yeah. Yeah.
oh yeah, but we tend to think like somebody toiling over a sewing machine, patching, hemming,
Yeah.
tailoring. They don't think like a manifestation of creative genius or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
It just depends on the audience. Like explaining things. That's why I kind of appreciate my day job. It's a different group of Miami people that I would have never experienced. So I get to learn how to explain what I do in a different way. So
yeah.
it's really great actually. So
Hmm.
trying to get
How
them to
would
come
you,
to art events is another thing, but but they do ask questions, which is great.
I mean, I think that's like part of the nature of art, period, regardless of materials, medium, etc. It's just like provoking those questions, even if they're, quote unquote simple. It's all about that dialogue.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
I can't think of them as simple though. It's just they're just not familiar with things, and it's
yeah.
so it's great that they're inquisitive, that they're looking to know more. So.
Do you find validation in answering those questions?
Oh, it's I don't know, it's validation, but it's helpful. Yeah, I guess it's validation because after I
Yeah.
explain it, and then you get like, oh, okay, when I explain things in a way where they understand it, then
Mm-hmm.
that's the validation. Yeah, yeah.
Mm. So how would you explain to somebody, let's say, me in this case, I guess. I don't know
Mhm.
why I was gonna set it up as like a somebody who may ask when like it's me, I'm asking. Um, what role then would you say that fiber art plays in the landscape of contemporary art now?
Oh, it's a big role. It's important role. Women are more included now. So a lot of fiber artists is mostly women and women's work, and it's so more women that get recognized in the contemporary art, fine art scene, the more fiber art is being recognized. So since the 60s and 70s, it's been growing in respect, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, especially when you take into account like the feminist movements of
absolutely.
the mid 20th century.
Yeah.
And even before then, just the very, role that textile has played in relation to femininity.
Yes.
Feminine roles cross-culturally, even. I would say that it's like such a unique, but like storied way to bridge gaps between people.
Yeah,
So,
and it's part of people's histories too. Like
hmm
everybody is used to their grandmothers or mothers making
yeah.
things, and it was never kind of put on this higher level, I guess, or this respected level, So there was these stories of fiber artists, and they're like my mother taught me how to sew and taught us how to do crafts and taught us how
hmm
taught us how to mend too, I guess. But sew and crochet and make work, and she allowed me to go to art high school and focus in my creative self, and she
Yeah.
wasn't able to do that. Like if she was given the ultimatum to either get married or go to college, so she
Yeah.
couldn't do both. And she, was in love with my dad, so they got married, So, but she didn't really have a choice. So that's the
Yeah.
opportunity that our generation, or a lot of our generation, is starting to have more than the past generations. So,
Mm. So, I mean, trying to relate this back to the exhibition in our
mhm.
Miami gallery right now, would you agree with the idea that textile is like the perfect medium even
Yes.
for pulling at social discourse?
Yeah, absolutely. There's so much history with textiles, and you're able to just tell so many different stories with textiles
Yeah.
because you wanna pull those threads, you wanna pull those strings, you wanna poke people where it hurts, and you wanna make people think about what this theme of the show is the social discourse. And so my work with the hangers, I was able to show rusted hangers
Yeah.
and hopefully people think about I made it like right when the SB8 in Texas was had started.
Whoa.
Um,
Was it like just coincidence or was it intentional?
Intentional. Like it happened, and I'm
Mhm.
like, shit, I have to make this piece. And my friend was, I don't have them on, but my friend was making wire hanger earrings, and
Whoa.
so we traded, and so I made that piece, and it was really it's about to remind people what abortion used to be before, or it still is today, but
Yeah.
before Roe versus Wade, it was. I forgot. I looked up the percentages today when you gave me the questions. Or just as thousands, but thousands of women ended their own pregnancies before Roe versus Wade. 90% of women who died in New York
Yeah.
City due to illegal abortions, for example, were Black and Latina. So it's another like it hurt minorities the worst,
Oh
So
yeah, it's so layered just as like the medium like
mhm,
it's always so layered because it's not just like healthcare for women like
yeah,
healthcare for pregnant people, all these things intersect. Oh, but how do they, how different do they look if a woman is Latin American,
mhm,
if she's
mhm,
darker skinned, if she's an immigrant, if she doesn't have citizenship, etc. um So I feel like, especially your piece, because it isn't just hangers. Anybody who has some knowledge of the history of, or rather, the ongoing fight for access to safe abortion
yeah,
would look at your piece and it's like, okay, so this is a women's.
yeah,
Uh, it's an exhibition full of like a woman's perspective, women's perspectives.
yeah,
And I mean, there are men male artists who participated in the exhibition,
yeah.
and child artists. um, but it's just, I don't know of any other medium, like artistic way, that would capture just how layered the issues that affect us in our communities
Yeah. Historically,
are.
historically quilts were used for banners, for protests, for signage, for sashes. Women would protest. The suffragettes would wear purple sashes. So textiles were always used as in protest. And in solidarity, people wear all one color. And that's related to textiles. So everyone's wearing white in solidarity with women's health and women's rights. So.
Do you often, I know about your Americana quilt series, but does your work tend to take on that reactionary approach, or an approach that centers solidarity?
This series has been going on since that pandemic, and so that's now like a year and a half, and I think previously my quilts were more about memory and family. I would use secondhand materials to create quilts. I have a piece of I created for my mother's wedding dress. So instead of putting like portraits on the wall that could kind of be stale, and they're nostalgic, but there's not really a whole lot of texture to them, and they fade over time. So and your wedding dress you keep in your closet forever.
Oh yeah.
So instead of having your things in your closets of memories, these really great memories you could hang on the wall. So I made 2 for my mother. One was her wedding dress, and one she saved all of her mother's house coats. So there are these floral aprons from my Italian grandmother who there's like grease stains and cigarette holes and all kinds of stuff in them. And so I made this another quilt with my grandmother's house coats. I made recently my brother's Marine, so I made him. I took his dress greens and I made him a piece from one of his uniforms. Wow. And then, so political is new, but there's always been a connection to people. Well,
that doesn't like the essence, I think, of our approaches to creativity, what we want to say, like that doesn't really change. If anything, it makes it easier to tackle new things, or the things that are really affecting us, making us think. And it's, I think, our way of doing our part. Even with quilting, like you said, like it's history of being entwined with protest. Especially like for human rights, basic human rights.
Also, I think during COVID, I had more time to spend on research and to spend on quilt history. And I was listening to all these new podcasts and videos about history, about quilts. And then I got some new books, and I had the time to get more connected to what was in the quilt and quilt history. And then all the politics were going on. And I think it just gave me the opportunity to like really focus on everything that was going on at the same time. So.
Nice. I love hearing people talk about like how, like what got them to finally do something new. Because it allows us to like inhabit like ourselves in that time period. And it was really inescapable. Like everything that was happening was not that I think we should have escaped from it. But it was everywhere, literally everybody, even people you wouldn't think would be aware of what was happening. They were aware.
It was a space to focus. It was kind of like a really long artist residency where you're locked in with room and you're just focused on whatever you want to focus on, So, and there's no going out, and there's very little distraction, and it's just really focused. Yeah.
Do you foresee yourself continuing to make or to work this way, to like work with this in this kind of direction?
Yes, absolutely. I think you were introducing me. Sorry, hold on. Oh. Sorry.
It's okay.
So when you're introducing me, you were saying I just got an Ellie's grant yesterday, so I'm allowed to talk about it now. We've known for about a month, so it's like hard to not talk about it.
Yeah.
But so I got an Ellie's grant yesterday, and specifically to make larger pieces and continue this body of work. So I'm investing in some equipment, and also I had a deal with my husband, like, so if I get this grant, that I never think I'm going to win anything. So if I get this grant, I'm going to expand into the living room and I'm going to expand my studio. And he's like, yeah, sure, no problem. I'm like, okay, so I got the grant. So my studio is going to double in size. So that's good.
I mean, I've looked through the PDF you sent me of the series, and some of those pieces, like the ones behind you, are so massive.
Yeah, no, yeah, they're, I mean, but I sewed them on this little tiny machine. So what the bigger machine is going to help me make the
Yeah.
quilting is going to be better. They are going to be larger. They're going to, so these are like about 4 by 5 feet. So
Hmm.
they should be more like something that would fit on a king size bed, hopefully. So
Uh,
that's the aim. So
are they, gonna be like flat on the wall, or is there gonna be like a backing, I
Uh,
guess I should say.
some of them are three-dimensional.
Hmm.
There's a piece in the I have a show up. I'm part of a show in Bridge Red right now, Bridge Red Studios, which is right near you
Yeah.
guys. It's called Materiality with Judy Pulitzer, Susan Banks, Carrie Phillips. I'm missing. There's five of us. There's five of us. They're all amazing women. Um, and oh no, there's only four. Yeah, it's and Evelyn Pulitzer.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I knew that
yeah,
too. I'm sorry I didn't help you.
yeah. Okay, I'm like, um, and so I have one piece in that show that has like extra stuffing in the borders, so it
Hmm.
makes it all wonky and three-dimensional. I have a little piece in there that has the three-dimensional borders. I could show you real quick. Um, this is like the test size up there. So there's extra stuff in the batting, in the
Oh,
borders. I don't know if you could see
yeah.
there. I don't know. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Okay.
I've only seen I've only seen pictures of this piece,
Yeah.
I
So that
believe.
one's when I make pieces, they kind of start really small and then let me see, like they start kind of like those guys and then kind of
Hmm.
get medium size and then I make the bigger pieces after that. So yeah.
Do you like plan their size ahead of time, or do you just wait to come to a point where you're like, this is good?
The newest pieces, I'm starting to use bed sheets as backing. Um, so it's kind of reclaiming
Cool.
material. I don't have to buy new work. It's super cheap. Um, they're mostly polyester, so I have to be a little bit more careful with ironing. But yeah, so when I do decide to make a bigger piece, it just would depend on the size of the sheet that I'm using
Mm,
as a backing. So yeah.
cool. I can't wait to see that.
Yeah, me too. I have one like started, so it's not. I like
And
it's
congratulations on the
yeah.
grant.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much. I'm super super excited. So
So I have one last question for you.
yeah.
And it's kind of long, I guess, or it has the potential to be long. So uh, how do I want to phrase this? Okay, so the series Americana Quilt, from which your pieces for the exhibition
Hmm.
come from which they come, they're in conversation with one another, especially given the topic. I assume that they're in conversation with one another,
Yeah.
right? How did you make them like as part of the series for the exhibition, or were they already part of the series
I made
and you
them
just happen to have them?
specifically, yeah, no, I made them specifically for the exhibition because there was I guess the rule of regulation or whatever that they needed
Yeah.
to be exactly 24 by 24. So I don't normally work in like perfect squares or size or
Right.
rectangles. Usually it's just a piece that's kind of not done at all. But I usually make them kind of wonky, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and um, like these here, like nothing square. Everything is cut around the pieces. Um, so yeah,
Uh,
so when they asked us to make them exactly 24 by 24, I had to make pieces that were specifically for the show. And FAMO, they wanted to fill the space. They wanted to go
yeah.
from corner to corner, wall to wall, floor to ceiling. So I wanted to make a few pieces for you guys. So originally I made two, and then I made the third one is the best one,
Yeah.
with the hangers one. So
Yeah. I was so happy to see it though.
yeah, no, it's so great looking. The whole show looks amazing. So
Yeah, it's like because it's the third year that we're doing this with Fama that we're putting up a show. It's so interesting to see like how bold people go with textiles. And this compared to last year, where I know you had a piece in last year's show
hmm
as well, where it was commemorating the 100 years that women have had the right to vote in the United
hmm
States. This year didn't really have that much of a like a theme.
right,
It was just like a size
yeah,
situation idea of a quilt, and we rolled with it.
mm.
So it was interesting to see that people were still like, "Oh, I want to push the envelope.
Yeah,
Like I'm trying to provoke."
yeah, yeah,
Um, and I just love, especially the people who participated last year who participated again this year.
yeah.
It's like to see how they're coming along in their journey with textiles, because some of the Fama members are not textile artists at all.
Or just beginning, learning how to
Yeah,
sew. And yeah, it's great to see the progress. It's great to see their passion that they want to share all their, political passions and views and want
yeah.
to, change people's minds.
Hmm.
I think it's really great. And I at camp for the previous show, I helped teach a workshop for people, and it's
Yeah,
really great to help them and answer their questions and show people how to sew and kind of further the tradition of making things.
oh yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
think my favorite thing about like the quilt take on it is precisely what you said earlier in our conversation, just
Mhm.
like the history and community around quilting, not just
Mhm.
technique, but in what quilts display
Yeah.
eventually.
Yeah.
This like massive quilt is, and I've been saying this for like the last month, it's so like reflective of our community, like not just the communities that we all inhabit separately, but the ones that we're inhabiting together
Yeah.
through Fama's collaboration with camp. It's just so like I don't know the word for it.
Yeah.
Like it's rich.
Yeah, it's great to be part of large projects like this where everybody makes something and it's like a checkerboard of all different people and all different ideas. The AIDS
Mm.
quilt is like that. I participated in this social justice awareness. I forgot the name of the group. It was about gun violence,
Ah,
and everybody was asked to make a piece of someone who died from gun violence, and you get to pick. She had like lists and lists and lists of people, and you get to pick
yeah.
someone specific. So I picked a transgender person from Miami who was shot, I think in 2018. So I was able to make a quilt for her, and mailed it off to them. Like I'm never going to see it ever again, but it's going to be part of this big, like the AIDS quilt. It's going to be a big part of
Yeah.
like a nonviolence quilt. So,
Wow.
yeah,
That's so gorgeous. Do
yeah, it's
you
going to be great.
um well, the second part of my question was
Mm.
I guess related to this. Do you find that there's a difference in creating works that are going to be in conversation with other works you've created and creating works that are going to be in conversation with somebody else's work?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, when there's a theme to a show and you know how it's gonna work, like the
Hmm.
Fama quilt and the social justice quilt. I mean, I my piece is gonna be up against super talented people with really great ideas and passions and skill and political views. So I just want to, I guess hold the torch and
Yeah.
stand alongside these amazing women and people who make these amazing objects. Yeah.
Yeah, because what a way to make your voice heard in a
Mhm.
way. Because materials, especially, I have a background in anthropology, so I tend to look at things like things,
Mhm.
literally things. I tend to look at them as like going far beyond us and our lifetimes. And textiles, I mean, obviously, like natural materials degrade and stuff like that, but the more plastics we use in our lives and things
Yeah.
like that, the less um, they'll degrade. So I always like hearing this, especially because it is similar to the AIDS quote.
I just think about how that's not really going to go away so quickly. The issue is not going away so quickly at all, especially in the United States.
Yeah.
Um, so it's so beautiful to be able to participate in something that goes beyond right
Yeah.
now.
There's an exhibition right now. I just got the catalog in the Boston Museum of Fine Art, and it's quilts from the 1700s. Here it is. It's quilts from the 1700s to my camera. Sorry.
It's okay. That's the story of my life.
Fabric of a Nation, American
Cool.
Quilts and Stories. This is Bisa Butler's piece, who she's from New Jersey, but went to school. And it's like all these quilts that go, like that's the back. So these more contemporary works, the more historical works. This is a Bible quilt from a woman who was a slave. This is an amazing, I just got this book last week and I just started reading it.
Yeah, that's insane. I would not be able to put that down.
Yeah, the text is beautiful. It's a story about every single quilt maker in here. Then there's the Amish quilts, there's weavings. Sanford Biggers is included in the exhibition.
Nice.
There's this big quilt ball. I love it. It's like
It
7
looks
feet
like
high.
something Laura Marsh would make.
No, it's 7 feet though. It's like Laura Marsh on steroids.
Yeah. Well, you never know,
there's a
Laura,
peanut.
if you're out there.
Yeah, this piece was banned from a show in 1979. It's all penises and vaginas.
Nice.
Yeah.
Why would they? Well, I guess 1979.
It was in City Hall. It was in City Hall in Philadelphia, I think. So. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm so happy that you're showing this to me right now.
Yeah. No, I just got this book, so yeah, this wedding rings. Yeah. So yeah. So this is like one of the 20 books I bought in the last year and a half. So.
So before I let you go, I want to know, do you have any dream projects? Like, is there one project that you've been chasing this whole time? Something that you are like desperate to be able to manifest?
I really want to make these Americana quilts really big, and I really want to expand the project. So it might morph into something else. The topic might change or something, because I've been finding myself to do more dyeing, and I want to explore some printmaking and some digital printing on fabric. So I want to explore some different technologies to add more texture, to add more narrative to the works. But this grant is like totally getting me in the right direction to get into these different technologies. Yeah.
I'm so happy that because I didn't know that the Ellie's were happening this week.
Oh yeah.
I didn't really know. I had an idea that they were coming up because they tend to be around this time of year.
Yeah. Oh, I should have told you. I thought you guys knew. Sorry.
I didn't know.
And
so to be looking through Instagram and see all of these people that I've met through Camp and Fama, winning, it was oh my God. And then for you to have won and us to be talking literally today.
Yeah.
It's such a dream.
Yeah, great. Oh, great. And four Fama women won, I think. So 4 Fama members, including Aurora, which is pretty much a grant for Fama, which is really exciting.
Literally.
So, yeah. Super exciting. Yeah.
Maybe next year we're going to be pulling at a million different threads.
Yeah. Yeah.
You never know. Well, that's all I have for you. I want to thank you so much for making time to talk to me.
Oh, no, this is a pleasure. When you sent me the questions, I was like, oh my God, this is not going to be boring. This is going to be great. I'm so excited.
I'm so happy you say that. I'm always scared.
No, those questions are really great. So it had me writing notes and doing research and making sure my answers were correct or correct to me. So yeah.
Yes, that's awesome. Yeah. Shout out to Gabe and Brianna who helped with the questions.
Great. Yeah. Yeah, and then we got to talk about unexpected things too. So it was really, really cool. So.
Yeah, I always send questions and I'm like, this is not the order things are gonna go in. Trust, we're all human beings.
Yeah. No, it was a good jumping ground, get my head straight, this morning. Yeah. So it was good.
And also just a little the ability to humble brag a little bit. Be like, yeah, I'm doing this. So before I let you go, for real, is there anything that you want to like put out there? You're in a show at Bridge Red.
My show at Bridge Red is open through November 7th. William Cordova just put together a really great documentary piece about it that he just emailed out late last night. So I don't think I posted it yet, but I need to post that soon. It just really covers the show and the pieces in the show. I think there's going to be a closing exhibition on the 7th in the afternoon, but I have to double check. And then you guys until, I don't remember the closing.
The 13th of
the
November.
13th, so one more week after that. So yeah. So just those two things I have going on right now. So
yay!
Hey,
Congratulations again, and
thank you so
again.
much. Yeah, thank you.
Oh.
Yeah.
Bye, Regina.
This was great. See you later. Bye.
Bye. So that was Regina Jestrow. She has 3 pieces in our current exhibition in our Miami space, 64 Women Pulling at the Threads of Social Discourse. It's an exhibition featuring over 100 24 by 24 quilt squares or square pieces, and they're displayed like a quilt. It's super reflective. It reflects the way that society functions much more than you would think, which is true to the nature of art in general, of textile arts, and quilt making. If you're interested in coming by in Miami, of course, to see 64 Women Pulling at the Threads of Social Discourse, you can come by anytime, Tuesday through Saturday, 12 to 5. You can DM us on Instagram at the Camp Gallery, just in case you don't know. You can email hello@thecampgallery.com. And that's about it. Tell everybody. It's open till the 13th of November, which is a Friday. So what better thing to do on a Friday? Okay, thanks for tuning in. That was really exciting. Regina Jestrow is a great artist. See ya.